We're all right. Shall we?
We shall.
All right. Welcome back to Magic Stew, everybody. Cheers, Liam. Liam went out of his way to buy some nice creamer. And today, call the fire department, boys and girls. We put lava on the chairs. That's right. You can call it a hot seat. Skidoo. Oh, I'm so proud of myself for that dad joke. I've been waiting all night to do that. You have no idea. But obviously, we're here for another Ixalan draft hot seat. So, if
like Pompeii, I never saw that coming.
well, the problem with Pompeii was everybody was stoned when it happened. Yes! Yes! We're professionals. We are professionals. Well, welcome back to the Magic Stew hot seat. So for those of you who are joining us for the first time, I'm going to readjust my shirt here. Basically, Liam has selected several uncommons from Rivals of Ixalan. We do uncommons because a lot of people talk about commons and rares when they talk about draft. And I have never seen these before. I'm going to give you my hot takes on them. We give each card a score from 1 to 5, 1 being the state of Ixalan Limited, and 5 being how excited I am when work is canceled and I still get paid like I had gone in. So 1 bad, 5 good. And that's basically where we're going to kick this bad boy off. Liam, do you want to reveal the first card for me? I'm going to close my eyes and take a sip of this lovely coffee that you've...
Yeah. All right, so we will go with...
Ooh, Charging Tuscadon is our uncommon, which is 5 mana for a 4/4 red dinosaur, so it's 3 colorless, 2 red, the old double red. That has Trample, and if Charging Tuscadon would deal combat damage to a player, it deals double that damage to that player instead. I gotta say, I'm not usually a fan of 5-drops. I certainly wasn't a fan of 5-drops in regular Ixalan. However, Rivals of Ixalan is a lot slower, and a lot of times when you're drafting either like a red-black aggressive deck, or the red-green dinosaurs deck, or a white-red aggro deck, you need a way to punch through damage. And I gotta tell you, Charging Tuscadon is a pretty freaking good way to do it. There's a lot of things that you can do to abuse this card. Crown of Tilinali immediately comes to mind, but there's also just other combat tricks, things like Shore Strike, which is still in the set and still very good. Crash the Ramparts, that +3/+3 and trample at instant speed, which is definitely excellent. You know, if you're in white-red, you could do Vampire Zeal. If you're in red-black, you can lower the toughness of their creatures with something like Momentary Craving, Moment of Hunger, Moment of Craving.
I think it's correct. I'm pretty sure that's right.
Yeah, pretty sure. It's seen playing standard. I feel like I should know what it is. So there's some ways that you can really abuse that double damage clause on this card. I'm going to give it a 2.5, which might seem like average, but I got to tell you, usually a 5-mana 4/4 with a semi-relevant ability like Trample usually scores a little bit lower, but I got to say, Charging Tuscadon has done nothing but impress me. It's especially good with a lot of the auras that are in this set too. So for example, if you have Squire's Devotion and you've got a 5/5 lifelink trample that deals double damage to the players, which means you're going to get double that life back, that's a wombo combo for you. You put, of course, something like One with the Wind on it. Swashbuckling is still in the set. Like, there's a lot of ways that you can really abuse Charging Tuscadon. So a 2.5 on its base stats, but you can count on this getting a lot higher if you have enchantments or combat tricks to really abuse with this card. Also, I love the art. It looks like one very, very, very angry Flintstones extra, which I love. So, also love the leaves on the trees. That's irrelevant, but Charging Tuscadon, 2.5. We'll take a sip of coffee while Liam selects the next one.
We're going to go random.
Oh, I like the flourish on that one. That was good. Ooh, Forerunner of the Coalition is our next one. So it's 3 mana, 2 and a black, 2 colorless for a human pirate. It is 2/2. And it says, when Forerunner of the Coalition enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a pirate card, reveal it, then shuffle your library and put that card on top of it. And whenever another pirate enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent loses a life. I have to say, this might be my least favorite of the Forerunner cycle. I like the other ones that impact the board in some sort of meaningful way. The red dinosaur theme one I actually think is pretty great because you can choose to trigger your enrages.
That one is crazy.
Yeah, which is excellent. Or if you just have 2 dinosaurs, you can just wipe all of their X2s because usually your dinosaurs are a lot more powerful. Like if you can go ranging raptors into something else, you're just actually if you just use ranging raptors in that card in conjunction with each other, it just feels like the biggest game in your entire life. Like it's just incredible. Yeah. I really like the Merfolk one because it's a Merfolk card that keeps funneling more aggressive creatures into your deck. It also gets bigger, so it itself is harder to block. The Vampire one, I think, is probably the best one. If you put a gun to my head and you're like, listen, choose the best Forerunner, it's gonna be that Vampire one. Honestly, the ability to like pump other creatures, especially like your lifelink tokens or your flyers to punch through damage, is super relevant in this block and super relevant in the Vampires archetype. That being said, I'm never like that bummed to see a Forerunner of the Coalition in a pack. I first picked these before in a particularly weak pack, but you can usually expect to see them probably, floating around from picks 5 through 8. As such, I would give this one a 2. I think a 2 is definitely, certainly a relevant score for this card. Again, not something I'm usually going to be happy to first pick like I would be for Forerunner of the Legion. And it doesn't scream, build around me, like the Forerunner of the Sun Empire, who's, I'm sure I'm butchering his name, the red 1/3 Forerunner for the dinosaurs.
Just Forerunner of the Empire.
Yeah, we could put like a little graphic up to show the folks at home what I'm talking about. But it's fine as well. There's definitely a cool like pingers deck that I've drafted with this card. If you're lucky to get a lightning rig crew or 2, you could kind of sit back and peg them to death. But I'll be honest, it just gets a 2 from me.
Well, the ETB effect. If you get a bunch of ways to make pirate tokens or something like that, Vraska.
Yeah,
wouldn't be horrible.
But then you've got A being green black and B open a mythic.
Yeah,
that's the best
thing.
mythic in the set.
It's a very situational ETB, but that's what I'm saying. If you happen to have ways to create that, or if literally all your creatures are pirates, it's a little better.
It's fine, but it's a 2. That's what I'm saying.
It's not as likely that that's going to happen anyway. Right. So that's
which is what makes it a 2. Like the Forerunner of the Legion, I'm always going to be happy playing, simply because like something like. Duskborn Sky Marcher, the 3-mana 2/3 flyer in white is one of the best commons. So I can tutor up one of my best commons, play it, and pump one of my guys with Forerunner, even if I have no other Vampire synergy in the deck. And if you do a Vampire synergy in the deck, it gets so much better. Forerunner of the Coalition would probably be a 3, honestly, if this had your opponent lose a life and then have you gain a life.
Yep.
Then this would be absurd. Because then
a 2-point swing just for casting something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, and it's still fine too. Like, I mean, I've used this as a way of punching through damage in an aggressive red-black pirates deck, where you're like, I just need to squeeze in, a little bit of damage. Like those Firebrand Fanatics, the 1-mana 1/1 with haste that you can sack him, is amazing with this guy, because you just play him, ping your opponent, sack it, ping your opponent, and then all of a sudden, like every single one of your pirates is like a flame jab to the face,
right? Which
is awesome, but. Again, it definitely lacks that sort of strong ability. Or if this had been like a 2/3 or a 3/2 even. Like, the fact that this is a 2/2 and Forerunner of the Legion is also a 2/2 baffles me a little bit. Because the green one, the Merfolk one, is a 3/2, which, for 4 mana. The red one is a 1/3. And the Forerunner being a 2/2 makes sense, because that's the same baseline stat as like Legion Conquistador, and a Blood Hungry Vampire, the 3-mana one with Menace. There seems to be a lot of 2/2 vampires running around Ixalan, but why is this not a 3/2 or a 2/3?
Sure.
You could have easily, if this had been a 2/3, it's even better. This also doesn't block well, which is the problem. You know what I mean? Like the 1/3 Forerunner you can block with at least. You run it out, you can block their X2s, but this doesn't really. You really have to be super aggressive on the curve, and then on turn 3 I really want to be casting stuff like, oh gosh, what's his face? Headstrong Brute, the 3-mana 3/3 with Menace, that Orc, or the Orc Border, that's a 3-mana 3/3 that, if you have another pirate you don't lose life. Like, there's so many better aggressive cards I'd rather be casting than Forerunner. Again, it earns the 2. It's not a bad card by any stretch of the imagination. I've never been impressed by that one. Even in decks where I've had a ton of pirates, which is it was fine in those decks, but the decks where I haven't had a ton of pirates, it's been middling at best.
Orcs are.
I do like perseverating about orcs. I'm really happy they brought orcs back as a.
They should name a card that.
Perseverating
Wizards, if you ever decide that you like our channel enough to name a card after anything we've ever said, perseverating about orcs.
Let me design it, please.
And Kyle can design it. It's his thing. It's his gig.
That's true. It is my gig. As a Warcraft player too, I was really excited when they brought orcs back. Sorry, take that back. All right. I'm super energized. I'm ready. Ooh. Well, this is a rare.
That's a rare?
It's a rare.
Oopsie.
Ooh.
So a rare got into my uncommons somehow.
It's okay. This makes up for me thinking it was 9 instead of 10 on Magic Card or Metal Band. So we're not perfect. It's okay. We know that's the only reason you watch us is because we're both flawed human beings. Beautiful, but flawed. So Siege-Horn Ceratops, a little bonus rare for all of you folks at home, is a green and a white for a 2/2 dinosaur.
And it's not uncommon.
It is not uncommon. It is a rare. Liam put a rare in, let the record show. Whenever Siege-Horn Ceratops is dealt damage, put 2 +1/+1 counters on it. I am not a big fan of this card. I want it to be good. It is no Watch Wolf. I miss Watch Wolf, for those of you who played Ravnica Limited, or Ravnica in general, original Ravnica. If this had been like a 2-mana 3/3 with Enrage, where you get a 1 +1/+1 counter on it when it gets dealt damage, card would have been mwah, would have been beautiful. But as it stands, it has to survive to get that damage done. It is a 2-mana 2/2. It is a gold 2-mana 2/2, which is brutal. Which makes it much harder to do if you're necessarily playing this in like Naya Dinosaurs and Limited.
It's only good if you get the perfect mana draw and your opponent stalls out.
Mm-hmm. Or you have multiple ways to enable it, but at that point you're playing multiple ways to enable a 2/2 dinosaur in your deck. I mean, maybe you've got other Enraged cards in there as well.
I mean, it's an easy Long Tusk Cub under the right circumstances. You don't have to spend energy to...
yeah, but Long Tusk Cub doesn't
counters.
need any other cards to make it work, which is why Long Tusk Cub is Long Tusk Cub and why this is seeing 0 play in any format, including Limited, where it's not that great. It does get better with combat tricks and auras, but then again, everything in this set gets better with combat tricks and auras. I give it a 1.5. I'm not excited. I would not be excited if this was my rare. The rares in Rivals of Ixalan are very strong. Very, very strong, which is important to note.
They absolutely are.
It's still not as swingy of a set as Ixalan was, though. I will say that much. Despite the fact that the quality and power of the rares across all colors, I would say, is much higher, it's still less of a swingy set than Ixalan. When we do the JCs, we're rolling around the idea of doing an award show. I feel like we should have the Ixalan Award for biggest dumpster fire of the year, because that set was hot garbage, which I make zero complaints about. But Siege-Horn Ceratops gets a 1.5 from me. Again, if you can make it work, good for you. And again, sometimes you'll get run over by this card. Someone will have the absolute nut draw where this becomes like a 10-10 by turn 4 or something ridiculous like that. But it's not going to happen a whole lot. So shame, because the art is really cool looking. Ooh,
it's on the screen here.
Special. Ooh. Yeah. 2 dinosaurs on screen. Okay.
Ooh.
Double
dinosaur. You get 2 of them out, and you can make them fight each other and not die. Okay, well.
It is, actually, you do raise a good point. It is good with Hunt the Weak, which is in this set. This is actually, I forget who it was. I think it was Eric Froelich from Channel Fireball was saying that Hunt the Weak has been printed. No, it's Frank Karsten has been saying that Hunt the Weak has been printed like a zillion times, but this is the best that it has ever been. And I would 100% agree with that analysis. Hunt the Weak used to be like a 5th pick, and now I'm more than happy just whirlwind slamming it for pack 1, pick 1. It is that good in this particular environment. All right.
So now I have to redeem myself for pulling the wrong color. It's dark in here with all these lights. It's hard for me to see the color.
You just wanted to talk about
symbol.
a really cool looking dinosaur.
So I'll let Kyle pick bottom or top.
Ooh, bottom. Can I just?
Yes. Jenga.
The claw.
And look, no paper cut.
You have saved our lives. We are eternally grateful. Ooh. I feel like I should dab. Just like this is. It's so good. I feel dirty having done that. We just need we need a bunch of gifs and fidget spinners just around our heads and the MLG air horn noises. But this is just a phenomenal creature that I'm more than happy to first pick. This is Everdon Champion. Luis Scott Vargas jokingly refers to this card as true name Nemesis, which it is not, but it is 3 mana, so it's 1 colorless, 2 white for a 2/2 human soldier, and it says prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to Everdon Champion. Baby, it's so good. I love it. I love this card. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. It's fantastic as a blocker for those grindy games. If your opponent's like, I got a big creature, and you're like, cool, here's Everdon Champion. He's just going to sit there and look at you.
So let's ask a rules question about
yes.
Everdon Champion, because I know
I was actually
there
just
are
about to
going
bring
be people
I
who
was just
go
about to
for
bring
it.
that up. Please understand, if your opponent has trample, Everdon Champion does live, you will still take the difference in damage. Please remember that. Please. Because there's a 6/6 with trample at common in this set. And Galta is a thing. Remember, yes. Even with that in mind, with that caveat in mind, this card is still an absolute beating every time I've played with it or against it. It is amazing on defense. It holds back most of your opponent's creatures. It is hysterical against like death touch creatures. It's great against combat tricks. It laughs off stuff like Sure Strike. You know, if your opponent auras up a really big guy, you can just block them ad nauseum with this. Now, if you have your own auras and combat tricks, Everdon Champion makes a spectacular target for all of those, simply because you know that your opponent has to have an instant speed form of removal that will allow them to interact, something along the lines of, you know, Moment of Craving, I guess Unfriendly Fire, something along those lines as well. I wish this said prevent all damage that would be dealt to this, because then this card would be absolutely busted. It might even be a 4 if it said prevent all damage. This card would be absurd. As it stands now, I feel pretty comfortable placing that. I might be overvaluing it. I feel comfortable placing it at a 3.5.
I've played against it, and I would have to say yes.
Yeah.
Having played against it, it has ruined my night.
It is in a league. It's in a league all of its own. It's great in the grindy matches. It's a good aggressive creature if you need to punch through some damage. It laughs off the big guys. It laughs at death touch. It laughs at combat tricks. It's a great target for auras. It's a great target for your own combat tricks. I mean, I wish it had a relevant creature type. Like, I wish it had been like a vampire or something, because then it would be, you know, it'd be even better. But as it stands right now, I think a 3.5 is a good place for this card. It's just a supremely powerful card, a supremely strong card. It's even better than some of the removal in this set. Like, I know people are comfortable first picking cards like Waterknot, but I think this is a better first pick most of the time.
Sure.
Just, I think it's a great card. I don't know if would I take it over Luminous Bonds, which is the 3-mana pacifism effect? I probably would, to be honest. I think Everdon Champion is truly that strong. But at 3.5, seriously, there are so many worse ways for you to start off your draft than snapping up this lovely lady and her ball and headdress. You know, clearly that's the source of.
She has a ball and headdress.
She does have a ball and headdress, man. It's like a big old dinosaur crown. Yeah, but she's better. Like, I mean, she's better than the rare is. She's better than Sea-Torn Ceratops is. So,
The accidental rare.
Love her. 3.5, easy, all day, every day for Everdon Champion, all day, every day.
Let us know in the comments if there is an accidental rare that you would have rather had picked.
Yeah, there is some really cool rares to discuss. I mean, it might actually behoove us to do an episode of Hotseat just with rares, to be honest. No joke, because there's some really cool ones in this set that are hard to evaluate.
Yeah, let us know if there are any that you want us to talk about, and we'll do a special edition rares Hotseat.
I want to say, or a commenter's edition of Hotseat. If you have particular cards, like I said, Liam and I read the comments all the time. So, I mean, if you have a question or a card that
how would you rate this card?
Would you like me to analyze it? I would be more than happy to do so, because it'd be cool to talk about. Limited is a really important format to talk about with other people. I mean, there's a reason that like pro teams have a team meeting to discuss, you know, the power levels of cards. It's super, super important to talk about this format with other people, because knowing how others draft, how others rate cards, is going to shape how you do and what decks you expect to play against.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know limited, it's obviously randomized, but there's a lot that you can do to remove that random element from playing, and discussion is probably the best way to do so.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Meta strategies.
Another good tool for that is the website, draftsim.com, because if you ask it to, it will rate the cards.
Mm-hmm.
Now, not everybody agrees with how they're rated, but when I first started drafting, I did really well in the Kaladesh block because I utilized that to determine my choices. How was this rated on DraftSim?
Right.
And I haven't been using it on any other, and I did better in that block than any other. I'm picking it back up.
I mean, part of it's prep. I don't know if it's the rating so much, but as with all like online draft, I guess resources that you can call them, whether you're drafting on Tapped Out, which is something that I do quite a bit, or you're on DraftSim, or there's another one that Limited Resources recommends where they actually put 2 cards up, and you have to choose just those 2 cards. Like, what are you taking between those two? and then it gives you what you took, and then it gives you the community what they took. As with everything, it's going to change based on your meta. And by what that I mean, if you see 2 or 3 water knots floating around and you're in white, maybe picking up main deck enchantment removal like Demystify shoots up in your pick order because
somebody's got them.
Right, exactly. There's like 2 or 3 luminous bonds that you don't see, and you're stuck in white, but in pack 2 or whatever, like you notice that 2 luminous bonds are gone. Maybe because you listened to me and took an Everdon champion. That stuff makes a difference. But the more you prep online with your friends, the more you discuss it in the forums or in our comment section, which you should definitely do, the better you're going to be. Draft is like one of the big community-driven formats, more so than a lot of people give it credit for.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So,
all
with that
right.
in mind, the final hot seat card.
This is the way the show ends, not with a bang, but a roar.
Oh, and this is the way the world ends, not with a bang, but with a really big bang. Raging Regisaur, as far as uncommons goes, is one of the better ones that you can open. And again, I would consider it actually like a rare quality card. You go back 5-10 years ago, this is probably a rare.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
God, yeah.
Yeah. Like Loxodon Hierarch was a 4-mana 4/4. I mean, it gained you 4 life when it entered the battlefield. But like this could have easily been like a low tier rare 5-10 years ago. But Raging Regisaur for the folks at home, it's 4 mana, 2 colorless, 1 red, 1 green, classic. For a 4/4 dinosaur creature. And whenever Raging Regisaur attacks, it deals 1 damage to target creature or player. Oh my god, there's so much to unpack here, and I love it. So we're gonna try and go through this as methodically as possible. First things first, let's talk about the vanilla test, which we should always talk about. 4 mana for a 4/4 creature. Ding, 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 ding. Automatic pass, which we absolutely love. Remember, we're comfortable paying 5 mana for 4/4s sometimes if they have no abilities. I mean, Charging Tuscadon over here is also an uncommon for 5 mana at 4/4, and I gave that a 2.5 because it's relatively reasonable, has some good stuff going for it. So 4 mana for a 4/4 is awesome. There's some other stuff that I really want to talk about with this card. In addition to its decent casting cost per power and toughness ratio, the fact that it attacks and then does damage is huge, right? There's that 1 point of damage. Now there's some stuff that I especially want to unpack with that ability. So first things first, obviously you can use it to go right to your opponent's face. So realistically, you're always going to be hitting in for extra damage, which means if they can't kill this, like let's say for example they've got like an 0/6 wall, they can just block it, but who cares? Because you're always going to be hitting in for that 1. You can use this to make combat an absolute nightmare for your opponent. Let's say, for example, they've got 2 3/3s. You can swing in with the Raging or a 3/3 to help block maybe your 2/2 or something. Mm-hmm. Like, you can swing in with Raging Regisaur and your 2/2, dealing the 1 damage to their 3/3, and then your 2/2 is going to get in for extra damage as well, which is awesome. But what's really, really important is it doesn't say which creature or player that you have to do the damage to. So if you have enraged triggers in your deck, things like Ranging Raptors, things like Sabertooth. What's the 4 mana 2/2 that deals 5 whenever someone damages somebody?
Oh gosh,
Such a good card.
The name's not coming to me off the top of my head, but I'll put a little graphic here.
Yeah, it's like Rending Swordtooth or something.
Yeah, something like
you can
that.
damage that. If you have a Bellowing Aegisaur, you can damage that.
Silverclad Ferocidon.
Yeah, your Siegehorn Ceratops, you could pump that. There's just a lot of There's a lot of flexibility. There's a lot of power, and it's a decent cost. It has pseudo evasion because you're always going to be getting that 1 point of damage in. I'm very, very happy to rate this at a 3.5 as well.
I kind of thought you'd go higher on that one.
I
but
don't.
3.5 isn't bad.
4 is hard to get to. 4 we're getting into like that bomb territory. 4 is like we're starting to still like Raging Monstrosaur is a 5. You know what I mean? If you're in 4 territory, I gotta be this big grin of my like Maverick Fane is probably a 4 in this block. Maverick Fane is also just a ridiculous beating in this format. But 3.5 for sure for the Raging Regisaur. It could go a little higher too. You know, if you've got like really good enraged triggers already, or if you notice that red and green are open, you can definitely draft it. I'd say pick him up. I think Raging Regisaur is awesome. I do think it's better than Everdon Champion. I just don't think it's good enough to warrant higher than a 3.5. Like, if you asked me to rank these on a spectrum, I would say it is better than Everdon Champion. Again, another thing holding it back from that full rating is the fact that it is multicolored.
That's understandable.
You know, if it had been, you know, two colorless and two red,
I mean, if you're
it
already
would have been amazing.
if you're already in these two colors and some idiot passes this to you,
Well, it's a
snap.
Yeah, well, it's
I
a
mean,
snap up for sure. It's a clear signal too, because of how strong this card is. I mean, again, this is one of the few. It's so powerful. This is one of the few gold color cards that I actually feel comfortable first picking. And I again, that's my drafting style where I generally fall into that sort of like a little more conservative drafting style where you try and hedge your bets before you're moving on to cards like that. But with as easy as it is to splash, yeah, man, 3.5 seems well. But if I had to do spectrums, these are definitely the top two cards tonight. But I think again, Raging Regisaur, easy 3.5, maybe a little higher. If you said, Kyle, I think this is a 4, I think you're wrong. Fight me in the street, you bald bastard. I wouldn't hold it against you. I think that's okay. But a 3.5 gets the ranking from me. So, and with that in mind, folks, that is the last of our cards for the hot seat. Hope you've enjoyed every little bit of it. I know I certainly did. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. We keep shooting up in subscribers, which has just been amazing to watch. Liam is on cloud 9 right now, so just power chugs that coffee like a frat dude on rush week. But I'm gonna savor it a little bit, and hopefully you savor your evening. Have a wonderful one. This is Kyle out from Magic Stew signing off. Have a good one, folks.
Thanks for watching.